Hello, this is Matthew Chan, and I'm coming to you with a very special ELI update, and I have with me Robert Krasankis. The reason why we are doing this very special update is I want to make the ELI community aware that once again, the ELI website is under attack. And the ELI website is under attack by somebody you've probably never heard of before. Her name is by the name of Linda Ellis. She's the author of the Dash poem, and she operates under Linda's Lyrics. Now, Robert knows a little bit of a background story because I've been filling him in preparation for the recent posts and in this particular video. So let me bring you up to speed. Basically, nearly a week ago, a woman named April Brown and I crossed paths. And actually, she didn't even really contact me directly. Her Twitter account subscribed to ours, and that's what really caught my eye. And initially, when I looked at her Twitter account, I thought it was a joke because just the way the tweets came out, it didn't really conform to what a standard tweet was. But I clicked on it and followed up on it, and I found myself drawn in by the drama of extortion letters being sent out for a poem. And the amount of the extortion letters, or at least April Brown's story was, for $7,500. So those of you who are part of ELI, you know how we feel about extortion letters. And the reason why we consider them extortion letters is because the amounts they ask for is just astronomical. They're disproportionate, and they're just off the charts. Can you imagine getting an extortion letter for sharing a poem that you liked? What do you think, Robert? What do you think about that? $7,500 for sharing a poem, a supposedly moving poem, with friends.
It baffles me. I just when we think we've seen it all, something else comes along. It's like, where does it end?
I know.
It doesn't, apparently.
I know. I mean, I would have never imagined a poem, but here we go. So as you can imagine, it intrigued me. I followed up. Now, I did reach out to April Brown because one of the things I do is I don't like to run with a story unless I check things out. I want to check out the credibility of the person. I want to check out the credibility of the story. That's why it's really taken so long for me to come out on this. I mean, there was just a lot of things that I had to check into. The most important thing that I want to get were hardcore documents. And Robert, you know I'm big into the documents. You know I got to see something. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It lends credibility to the story when you start to see the actual, documents don't lie.
Yes, unless they're forged.
Well, yeah, but for the most part, what you see is what you get.
Right, right. And now, as it turns out, the very first document was a one-page, what I call Linda Lyrics extortion letter. I only had one page of it, but I had enough of it to realize that it was the real thing. I also had private emails exchanged between Linda Ellis and April Brown, which April Brown obviously gave me permission. She emailed it to me. Now, I have not yet published it, and I'm just trying to get it organized and so forth, but I will be publishing those. So, they can be prepared to, all of you can be prepared to read some juicy emails, and you can see how ridiculous the background conversation is, no matter what the upfront, the face of Linda's Ellis's operation is. So that's what I'm working on. Now, 2 days ago, I posted up the Linda's Lyrics extortion letter, but I also put up the extortion letter by the attorney. So that one has not been taken down yet. So it would not surprise me if I get a notification that Scrib's going to take it down. But right now, as I make this video, only Linda's Lyrics extortion letter has been taken down. However, you have a copy of it, right, Robert?
Yes, I do. I do have a copy of it. It will be posted on the forums. Just as soon as we wrap up this video, there will be a new link, and I doubt it's going to be taken down. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, let's just say that if by some off chance it gets taken down, we will document it and post the story for everyone to read. Was that a fair statement, Robert?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
More than fair.
Okay. So, and anyway, and the reason why I want to tell this story is it's because I think some of our newer readers and the other side don't know how ELI operates. So they're going to get a little bit of a crash course of how this operates. So, Robert, remember last year by our infamous female Canadian lawyer, which I call Fecal?
Yes, yeah, I remember Julie Stewart like it was yesterday.
Okay, and remember how she sort of threatened us? And remember I told you about the crying behind the scenes to everybody else except for me. And of course, she went on the attack on my Scribd account, on my Facebook account, on my web hosting provider, and I actually had to spend a lot of time and effort to bring myself up to speed, because up to that point, I didn't know anything about counter notification letters. And I came up to speed. Obviously, as you know, I don't ever take a form letter. I just can't accept form letters. I have to put my own twist on it. And I issued a ton of them. You like my letters? My counter notifications? They're pretty colorful.
Absolutely, yeah. They go beyond the Call of Duty, and I must give you credit that you brought yourself up to speed, rather quickly. But we really didn't have a choice either.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's we were staring at these things, so we really had to go through that learning curve.
Right. And it turns out the nice thing about it is when I learned, the entire ELI community learns, especially the ELI defense team. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something in it for all of us, and there's it's a time suck and it's a pain in the ass, but I think the benefits at the end of the day outweigh the time that you've put in.
Well, anyway, I don't know if I would agree with that, but I did commit the time to it. I'm really sensitive about my time, as you well know.
Yeah, but where is that Canadian lawyer nowadays?
Yeah. Apparently, she decided, even though she did even though she hired this big bad New York attorney and sent Oscar and I this big fat letter threatening us again. So every time somebody threatens us, unlike people we know, some in the media, some are not in the media, we don't go into hiding. We get a threat from somebody or some accusation, I put it right back out there because I'm very comfortable where I stand, and I typically have a response to it. So, and as you know, let's call it the way it is. And I am not beyond admitting my mistakes if I make a mistake. But I am very particular about checking my facts, getting it straight, and before I turn something loose. But I can be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to admit it. But I'm not gonna cow down. I'm not gonna do it. So, now one of the things, Robert, that when we went, I guess when ping-ponging back and forth last year, is I finally got fed up. I mean, because the problem here was that for them to inconvenience me was way easier than for me to take the time to fight back, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately I came to the conclusion I cannot make it easy for other people to harass me. Okay? And so no longer do I believe just an eye for an eye. Okay? Which means, basically you hit me once, I hit once back. Now I'm graduated to 2-for-1 specials, as I call them. Basically, you ping me once, I'm gonna double back. I'm gonna hit you back, and I'm gonna pop another one on you. So I suspect that Linda Ellis's camp has been so accustomed to dealing with people who roll over. They know nothing about the law. They don't know how things work online. Well, if she wants to ping me, that's fine, except that we have an entire team at it. All right, and we are determined in our mission to not have Eli get silenced. Would you agree with that, Robert?
I would agree. I would agree with that. As far as the 2-for-1 special is concerned, you have to also take into account that, yes, you're going to hit back twice, but then we also have the other ELI community members that are going to hit back as well. So that 2-for-1 really can multiply rather quickly. I don't think she realizes what her and her team is going to be in for, by issuing this, obviously bogus, takedown notice.
Well, it seems clear to me. I'm not exactly sure how they would have gotten wind of this. I don't think April Brown announced it on her blog, although she did say she would. And just for those of you who don't know April Brown, I did have an opportunity to speak with her a number of times, and I find her to be a very dynamic, articulate speaker. She has her website. She's an auctioneer by trade, and there's videos of her. So she's actually a very dynamic, articulate woman. And now, I don't agree with her 100% on her interpretations of the law and so forth, but she makes no bones that she is, an online expert, social media expert, or a legal expert. But one thing I do respect her is she, as a businesswoman, she has a sort of an instinct to know that it's sort of wrong. I mean, she knows, I think she would be the first to tell you that she really didn't mean any ill intent and that maybe she did commit an infringement. But is it $7,500 for a poem? Are you kidding me?
It's crazy,
Yeah.
And from what I'm not completely up to speed on this whole thing, but from what I've read, this poem is available more than B.K. Tyler's images are available. We're talking, thousands of websites that this thing has been shared on.
That is good. That is a good point, Robert. We talk a lot about Vincent Tyler's images, who works with the Line Art Network, and images being everywhere. But this poem, like I said, I've never heard of this poem, what they call the Dash poem. So feel free to Google it. Apparently it's fairly viral. And apparently she's bent out of shape because people love her work. And I'm thinking to myself, as an author, yes, I would probably object to my material being used without credit. But geez, you know what kind of letters I'd send out? I'd send out a letter and say, hey, look, you're using my material. You're not putting my name onto it. Would you do me a favor and stick my name and make sure you put a link back to my website? I mean, that's like free marketing.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. They're artists. They're not marketers. They don't. They got tunnel vision.
Right. Now, for our audience members, what I want to do is, Robert, prior to this recording, said that he wasn't fully up to speed. I said, Robert, that's not a problem, because the ELI community members, for the most part, is hearing about this for the very first time. So I've encouraged Robert to ask me any questions he feels like, because any questions he may ask will probably reflect those of our listeners. So, Robert, fire away as you go.
Well, yeah, I do have one question that you brought up earlier about. I'm not exactly clear on exactly what was taken down. You said the attorney's letter is still up.
Right. There are 2 extortion letters up there. One is by Linda's Lyrics, but that's a DBA for Linda Ellis. And apparently there is an individual by the name of John W. Jolan, who is a faceless person at this time until we find out who this guy is and where he works. I think I know where he's at. Right prior to the recording, I found something, but I don't want to say anything until I verify it, and you and I can get together on this offline. So the Linda Lyrics extortion letter is what was taken down by Scribd.
Okay, and that was a letter that she sent out herself and signed that letter?
Let me see here. Let me look real quick.
Or did Jolan? I'm just confused on who signed what.
It's apparently John Jolan, as I read it. He calls himself a copyright coordinator for Linda's Lyrics. But Linda's Lyrics is not a corporation, as far as I know. She operates as a sole proprietorship.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I guess she has some person that sends out these copyright notices on her behalf. I guess it would be sort of similar to, you know, how we have Getty Images and all their little clerks sending it out. So we could call John Jolan the copyright clerk.
Yeah, okay. That works.
Or the copyright extortion clerk.
And we don't know that he's an attorney or not at this point. He's just a clerk, as far as we know.
Yeah, I am fairly certain he is not a lawyer, because most lawyers do identify themselves. They sort of wear it as a badge of honor. So,
sure, absolutely.
And I'm eager to see what other things that John Jolan is doing, because I'm going to cross-reference his activities with the Georgia State Bar. So those of you who are watching this, feel free to help me out to see where the fringes are of practicing law. Now, when you guys listen to me talk, and therefore in talking about the law and the things that I do, make no mistake, I'm representing myself. Okay? I'm not representing others. And when I talk to others, it's just a consultation, but it's not like a legal thing. Well, John Jolan apparently is out there thunking his chest, rubbing copyright law into people's faces and whatnot. So I don't really know the extent of his work. I just know that I'm going to be digging in to see what he's doing. And if I find anything that's inappropriate, the Georgia State Bar is probably going to be hearing from me. And for our readers, just so you know, the parties in question are up in Atlanta. This is only 2 hours away, which I go up there quite frequently. So I may have to bring up my video camera and my camera up to the Atlanta area, and next time I'm up there, and just do some digging around. So that's the way I operate when you piss me off. But go ahead.
I'm curious as to. I know the bar probably wouldn't be too happy to hear if someone was indeed, saying they're practicing law or stating such, and they're, not admitted. But I also wonder what the Attorney General would think of, such behavior.
Well, that's actually a great point. I know we're going to have a mixed viewership here. We're going to have a viewership from our core ELI members, which is primarily what this video is directed to, our old-time standby loyal people. But we, more than likely, from what I hear, there's a good number of these people or victims of the Linda's Lyrics extortion letter that are going to be very, very interested in some of our strategies. And Robert, one of the things that you've done recently, tell us what you've done recently regarding the Washington State Bar and the Attorney General's office in Washington State.
Yeah, I contacted the Washington State Attorney General's office in regards to get any complaints they had on file for Timothy McCormick, who is, Getty's outside counsel. Within a week I had the report back. There were a few complaints. I also contacted the Bar Association. Generally speaking, with the Bar Association, if they get complaints and those complaints go nowhere, they don't act on them, they don't become public record. So we can't see what complaints have been made unless there's a punishment associated with it, or if something was, they moved on it, in other words. Then those would become public records. And I've done the same thing, with the Hawaiian Attorney General. I have a call into them as well.
Okay. So let me be clear. John W. Jolan is currently a faceless entity. Know very little about him. Don't even know if he actually exists. I'm going to assume that there's no person that would actually create a fictitious person to do this. So I'm going to assume he's actually a real live person somewhere in Atlanta. Now, regarding the State Bar, it is you're not supposed to practice law without a license, unless you're doing it for yourself. So I'll be looking into that. They can look forward to that. Now, to those viewers who are victims of the Linda's Lyrics extortion letter, this is what we have encouraged people to do. Okay? It costs you nothing except your time to file a complaint with the Attorney General. In this particular case, it's the state of Georgia. So even if you have already settled, and you settled where you felt like you were unfair, now is your time to write a letter, okay, and submit it to the Attorney General's office in the state of Georgia. And I'll tell you why this is important. All complaints are a matter of public record. All right, now, there's not a whole lot we can do for you in terms if you've already paid up. I mean, the money is gone. You're trying to sue, get it back from Linda's Lyrics or Linda Ellis is going to be next to impossible. However, you can help by submitting an Attorney General complaint. It will be on file, and if you submit them on file, what ELI will do is, as the complaints get filed to Attorney General, we will publicize that. And you know what? I'm just, this is what happens when you muck around with the ELI account. It's one thing when we report it, but I'm fed up. I'm fed up with people coming after ELI. So you want to drag us into it? Well, that's pretty much what's going down. But anyway, Robert, your thoughts?
Yeah, the other thing is that, going back to the Attorney General, they're only going to get so many complaints before their eyes pop wide open and say, we need to look into this.
Yes.
If they get 2 or 3 complaints, it may not go anywhere. It may just go there and that could be the end of it. But if they start getting, a lot of complaints, they will look into it at some point.
Now, I don't know I've never met Linda Ellis or John Jolan and these characters, but I have to assume that they reasonably care about their business reputations. All right, and otherwise they wouldn't be so, I guess, on the prowl to do these takedowns and so forth. So they obviously care about what people think and what's being put out there, except that their actions have consequences. And so I think it's very, very important to get those complaints in. Now, obviously, I'm not saying to make up frivolous complaints. Please don't do that. If you do that, it only undermines the efforts. If you don't have a substantial complaint and you can't sign your name, just don't do it. Okay, you're only going to hurt the cause. But if you feel like that you've really been wronged, you paid too much money, you've been victimized, and you can sign your name to it, get it in there. And ELI has a very good readership. If you want to email it to us, we will ensure that it gets read. So that's my position. So what other questions you got, Robert?
Go ahead, continue. None at the moment.
Okay. All right. So anyway, back to the April Brown story. I find her credible and so forth. So anyway, I've been gathering all this information. I post this, and I actually posted it into our legal controversies forum because, as you know, Robert, the legal controversies forum is pretty much the miscellaneous forum. It's where, because all of us are sort of interested in various law cases, we all find it interesting. And so we'll post up and we'll just sort of have side discussions on a legal controversies forum. So that's where I initially stuck this. And having talked to April, and based on what I had, I didn't really think I could go much further. So I just I'll just post a couple of blog posts, a couple of forum posts, and let it go. Except that, as you know, Robert, now I have a ton to write about, and now I got a ton to comment about, because now, it's making it about us. Before it was somebody else, and unless people step up, right, and submit their complaints and their stories to us, we're sort of stuck.
We really don't have, right, we don't have much to comment on.
No, we don't.
They've come forward and drugged themselves into this.
Well, yeah. So now I've got plenty to say on it because, as you know, we have a history of this kind of nonsense. So, of lawyers trying to squelch us, accuse us of defamation and all this kind of nonsense. And here we are. We have a little poem author 2 hours away from me engaged in this sort of thing against ELI. So anyway, she has just pushed herself from a side mention in a fairly minor discussion forum to her own discussion forum. Because I now have a lot to say about it, and I know I will have plenty to post. So I need room to move and maneuver, if you will. And we now have a dedicated discussion forum for Linda Lyrics, Linda Ellis, and the Dash poem Extortion controversy.
I think that's good if we can start rounding up some of these other people that have gotten these letters. It gives they've got their own space.
Right, they've got their own space. They can speak, and I don't know. There's a guy out there already. It's already starting to take a little bit of life. I haven't really chimed in a whole lot at this point, simply because this is all very, very new. And to be honest, right prior to recording this, I contacted Scrib with my counter notification letter. So we will see how that goes. Mr. John Jolan should be getting a copy of my counter notification letter, and we'll see how they respond. Go ahead.
I've got my feelings. I don't think you're gonna respond from them. I haven't been all that active over there. I did post something on the takedown itself.
Yeah.
It's a bogus takedown. I don't think he's got a leg to stand on.
Well, if you look at the letter itself, I mean, I guess they are familiar enough where they put on the bottom that, this letter is copyrighted and all that. Well, it may be copyrighted, but it doesn't mean I can't republish it. And the reason why is because ELI has a 4-year history, okay, of reporting and critiquing extortion letters. So this is nothing new. We're not republishing to make a profit and so forth. I mean, this is what ELI is all about. So I feel very, very comfortable using under fair use, and I've conferred with Oscar Michelin. Okay, so there you go. I feel quite good about what we're doing here.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with what we're doing either.
Okay. Now, I do want to ask you something. You and I now have photos in Google of ourselves when we make entries. Would you like to talk about that?
Not really.
Okay, well, you don't want to tell it because it's a secret, right? Should we keep it a secret?
No, it's not a secret.
I don't have a problem keeping it a secret. I'll tell her, look, some things shouldn't be talked about because it's like a secret weapon.
I don't mind. I actually think it's pretty cool when you do certain Google searches and, you see your mugshot or my mugshot pop up there. And those things, they really jump out at you. If you're looking for something, your eye is drawn to those pictures regardless of what you're looking for. You can't help but read what's next to it.
Yeah, I think our photos are really nice next to those little Google entries.
Yeah, those little entries. Yeah. And I suspect that's how Linda Ellis or Jolan or whoever, discovered that we had posted the takedown notice. I suspect they found it through Google. That's, a guess on my part, but you've seen the trend. We post things and they're in Google usually that day. They get posted. They get in there pretty quick.
Sometimes within 10, 20 minutes. I mean, I've seen it go very, very fast.
Yes.
And April Brown, has, to her credit, has been single-handedly carrying this story, and she doesn't really have the benefit of some of our knowledge, but she's done a good job, and she's actually doing something that I have not done. She's been using the press release technique. And so if you really pay attention to it, they're pretty high up in the Google search engines. And apparently it's a free service or something that she's using. So I haven't used it myself.
We might want to look into that because, I've done some research, and April she pops up all over the place. She's, considering she's doing this single-handedly, I give her credit because she's got, there's a lot of information out there on this and she's just hammering away on. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Robert, you really need to call April at some point and talk to her. I tell you, she's one fired-up woman, man. She's really fired up.
I think I probably will do that at some point today because my day is pretty much open. Today is like ELI day. And I got some other issues that I need to address, on the forums and whatnot. So.
Well, I will warn you, April does stay pretty busy, so it's sort of hit and miss. There are days that she has a little bit of time. So, I mean, I've tried not to pester her too much because I know she's a businesswoman, but she seems fairly open to talking about it. And in fact, she doesn't even know we're doing this video. I just got in my head that I wasn't going to stand by and have some idiot muck around with our account. So I figured the only way to... Yeah, again. So, I do want to make another comment, but I feel like I'm going to get in real trouble by my viewers. I don't even want to say it. Oh, maybe I'll. All right, guys, look, I'm going to tell you, but please don't pin me up. All right, you regular viewers, you just sort of know how I am. Okay, but why is it that the most pestering people, at least in terms of Eli, okay, I'm not saying anywhere else, are two women? I mean, Julie was just unbelievable. She was relentless, okay? And now this Linda Ellis character, I mean, from what I hear and she's pretty relentless too. I mean, so what is it about these women?
I'm not going to comment on that.
And the guys, once you give them a pop under the nose, they sort of back off. So I don't know. But,
we'll see what happens with it.
I don't know. Maybe we're going to get some another wave of phone calls. Maybe I'll get reports of phone calls where somebody's crying on the phone. But
Well, yeah, anyway. because they never call you.
Yeah, it's so funny. Now you bring that up. It's when I started ELI, and obviously it's been you sort of muddle along until you find your legs. And, and to be honest with you, I muddled along. Just sort of got by for a couple of years. And but I always thought that I was the one that was most vulnerable because Oscar was a big-time lawyer, right? And
sure.
And I was like, oh, boy, if I hear from anything, they're not going to go to Oscar. They're going to come to me. And, ironically, it's been all the way around. I almost hear nothing from anybody. Anything I hear has always been out the side. Everyone cries to Oscar. And it's so funny. They make it sound like that they don't know he doesn't own Eli. That's the funny thing. They say, well, you're part of Eli, and you should know better. They start going on their rants. Treat him like an equal partner in terms of like the ownership part. Presumably, they want to guilt him into pressuring me into doing something.
Well, I think it's partly that, and I think it's partly that they know that you own the site, it's your site, and don't be fooled by that. I think that they're afraid of approaching you because they've seen how you punch back, and they Oscar's got to, he's an attorney. He's got to be held to that higher standard than we do.
Yes.
And I think that comes into play. Yeah. Because they know he's got to keep his cool and be on the straight and narrow, and he can only, go so far. Whereas if they contact you, you can just, go balls to the walls, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, the fact, this is the deal. And Oscar has told me that he teaches his lawyers this, is that don't issue any letters and that you can't afford to have made in the public. You can't be embarrassed by them. All right. And that's what happens. I mean, people are doing this stuff and they hate it when it comes out.
Mm-hmm. Sure they do.
And this is the internet.
And I think they should be able to not worry about having that stuff being publicized, but they should also be able to back that. Whatever the claim is, they need to back it up. And that, they never back anything up. Yeah.
So anyway, I've heard all kinds of stories. Now, to be fair, I have heard stories where some of the settlements were a little bit lower, like in $200 or $300 ranges for these poems. But I'm also hearing stories of $7,500, another case of $20,000. I really would like to talk to that person, but what are you going to do? I mean, so many of these people, they're worried about retaliation and all that stuff. But but if you get educated about the lawsuit process, you will learn that it's not quite so easy. It's easy to file a lawsuit, not so easy to win.
That's
all
right.
the time. And even harder to collect, even if you do.
Right. And even if you, exactly. You could win, but still come out on the losing end.
Now, one thing I think the Linda Ellis camp will be happy for me to announce is that she did, in fact, win a lawsuit back in 2003. And she did win statutory damages of $150,000 or something along some big amount. Except that, she could brag about it, except that the guy she went after was a well-known criminal and had a terrible reputation and had a terrible track record. So, you'd have to be an idiot to lose that case. And there was no sympathy whatsoever by the judge towards this lying criminal. So anyway,
again, you have to wonder,
she won, but I don't know if she ever won a penny. To be honest with you, collected a penny.
Well, that was going to be my question. You have to wonder how much did she collect on that? Probably nothing.
I don't think so, because he was a crook, number one, and he ended up filing a suit against her, which, from what I could tell, it was dropped because they could never get her served. So I don't know if it was intentionally filed against her to scare her, or they legitimately wanted to file and they tried to find her, but couldn't get her served. So my first instinct, so I don't know. But I don't really want to say, but I initially thought that she was running, but I really shouldn't say that because I really don't know what the case is. It could have been the other way. And, it's one of those cases where even I have to be a little bit sympathetic to her side when you're dealing with a slime. Really a criminal. She's only an extortionist. But as far as I know, she has no criminal record, So anyhow. What else should we talk about? Let's see, we were talking about April Brown and I forgot to tell you that April Brown has tentatively agreed to do an interview with me. So that's going to be interesting. And I suspect if and when we do that interview, I'm going to be the quiet one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it's always.
I think she's going to have a lot to say.
Yeah, it's always good to get the other side, and get see a face with it. I think that's going to add a lot of credibility. One other thing I thought that I had jotted down here before when we were going back to talking about complaints with the Attorney General and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'll do some research on this and post it on the forum. If has a business that's licensed in Georgia, I'm talking about Linda Ellis. She may be affiliated with the Better Business Bureau, where you can always go in there, and if you have a legitimate complaint, again, don't make stuff up or a bogus complaint, but you could actually her score, within that as well. Again, if it's a legitimate complaint.
Yeah. I have used the BBB in terms of filing a complaint. I guess it doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost you anything. But I don't really have a whole lot of respect for the BBBs. A lot of them, most of them don't really have any power, and they're always worried about trying to make money from dues. That's the deal. So.
Oh yes, it is. And not to get off the subject, but I've had multiple clients, probably a dozen clients over the last 4 or 5 years that have supplied me with the BBB logo because they're members, and they have gotten letters from the BBB to cease and desist, remove that logo from their website. Because you have
really?
To pay. Oh yeah, you have to. If you want to have their logo on your website, it's an extra $450 per year in dues.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they send out their own little letters, but it's obviously tamed down. They're not demanding any money. They're just, it's a cease and desist letter for all intents and purposes.
Well, why don't you send me a copy? I think that would be of public interest to see what it is. Do you have a copy?
I'll see if I have a copy.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
And I know actually one client went from an A+ rating to an F++ rating, and if you go and you read the reason, it states right there, because they were using the logo and refused to remove it. So they dropped their rating. They dropped their rating right through the floor.
Well, why didn't you just remove it?
I did.
You did.
I did remove it.
Oh, okay. I'm looking here. Well, let's get rid of it.
I think the client was hemming and hawing and didn't want to remove it and probably got multiple letters. That's my take on it. But eventually I did remove it, but they had already, damaged his credit, his score or whatever, however that works.
I don't know. These businesses, I don't know. I mean, I've never had to do anything along those lines and get people's approval because I guess I'm very transparent. I put my face. I let people know. I respond to them. So I don't think it's really that hard to maintain a fairly decent reputation. I think it's just a lot of people.
No, it's not.
They just don't speak out. They don't know how to handle it, and that's why they get their asses handed to them. So. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, anyway, this video has gone for a little bit longer than I expected. Sorry about that. Like I said, this is in part the standard ELI update. This is a special episode, if you will, dedicated to the newly found, the newly reported Linda Ellis, Linda's Lyrics, Dash Poem, copyright extortion controversy. So you too can get an extortion letter, and for $7,500, you can also pay that price for plastering a poem. So there you go. I figured, and now I know how our ELI community member loves drama. Well, ELI has been dragged into this drama. Now, I know, Robert, you laughing. Yeah, you just love this. I'm going to try to end this as fast as I can, but I don't know. I just think that she's going to do the Julie Stewart thing. There's just not going to. I'm just going to keep hearing. Just going to get hounded for a while, and I'm just going to have to keep delivering counterattacks.
Well, if that's what we need to do, that's what we do. So we do it well.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll get Mulligan. We'll get SG, Lucia. Who else comments a lot? Who are regulars?
We got MC Films, and we've got Pete that will jump in there. And,
we got Keep Fighting. We're doing almost like a roll call of our regulars.
Our new user, I don't know how to say his name, Io?
Oh, Amayo? Yeah.
Amayo.
Or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So we just did a little call out of our regulars. I don't know. Hopefully they made it to the very end of this video. So, guys, feel free to jump in, and I'm sure you guys will have something to say if you really look into it. All right, well, Robert, thanks for taking the time to help me out with this video. It's better for me to talk on camera with somebody than it is just to, sit in front of a camera and talk solo for like a half an hour. It's much more fun this way.
Not a problem.
Now, do you have any other words of wisdom?
Eventually, I'm going to get used. Eventually, I'm going to get used to this and not hate it so much.
Why do you hate it so much? You're working your T-shirt. How hard can it be? I mean, we're in our offices, we're in air conditioning, and we're just two friends just talking with 1,000 of our best friends listening in.
Yeah, exactly. And no, I have no words of wisdom, or none that I can freely share at this moment.
Yeah, but Robert, you have to admit, until we did this video thing, we actually haven't seen each other in a long, long time. I mean, it's always just been telephone or email. Think about it.
No, this is unprecedented. 2 in 1 week.
Yeah, and we actually get to see each other's faces and all that. So that's actually pretty rare.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, because it's been what, 6 or 8 months since the last time we did a video.
Yeah,
at least. It's been a while.
Yeah. So we'll have to do more videos. Okay. All right.
Maybe we can get some other users to come out and they can share in the wealth.
Yeah. Right. All right. Well, thank you guys. Like I said, I don't want to belabor the point. We are heading almost to 55 minutes, and I'm sorry that the video went so long, but I had to say what I had to say. So we'll catch you in our next update. Thank you.